Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now so that we can start. Okay. Um, okay. Okay. Let me hide this. Can we all see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Can we? Okay. Okay, good.
Yes, I
So
can.
we want. Yes, my screen is on now. Is there anybody not seeing it? Yes, I can't hear anybody talking. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Now, the assignment is all about, extending our API server to be able to do authentication and authorization, right? So let me start by first opening the Postman. Let me open the Postman. Let me start with that. I will open the Postman now. So and actually show you something. So let me open the Postman. Is loading. Okay, it's coming up. Just hold on. It's coming up. Okay, so while we are waiting to come up, so the point is that we want to do what when you say authentication and authorization, authentication is all about the system, our application detecting who is trying to log in. Who is this person trying to log in? If the system, if the application can recognize the person, then the authentication is going to cannot recognize the person, then there will be a message of non-authenticated. That means you don't know the person. And in that case, an error is going to be thrown that we don't know you, right? So if the person is not known, we first, let's make it interactive. What is the status code for the application not authenticating the person trying to log in? What is that status code? Yes. Hello?
4E.
Yes?
401, I think.
401, that is very correct. 401 is the code, status code for not authenticated. That means I don't know you. Like you want to log in with a wrong username and password, it's going to say you are not authenticated. But if the username and password is known by the system, but the person is not authorized to do some certain thing, like in a reward application, we are going to have admin and we are going to have general users. An admin can do some certain things and users cannot do those things that admin can do. For example, you want to post item to a database, right? You want to post item to a database. For example, in an e-commerce website, now, of course, general user like you and I that want to shop from that e-commerce website do not have that authority to post. We don't determine that. So the admin should be able to post to what is contained in the database. But we as users, we can only have access to what is in the database, maybe by just getting it to our view for us to make our shopping, right? So in that case now, the admin will be authorized to do posting, but the general users will not be authorized to make posts. So in such a situation whereby a general user, just an ordinary user, want to make a post request, of course, the person is going to be denied. This person is going to be unauthorized to do that. So we should write our code. We should put that logic in our code that users should not be authorized to make a post, right? So this is exactly what we are trying to build now. So we are going to write authentication and authorization process in such a way that what our system is going to authenticate, as in confirm the username and password of this person if it is actually contained in our database. Remember, when you want to log into your Facebook account, you will be asked to log in with your username and password. In some cases, that your username can be what can be your email address because it's a unique identity, right? So such username and password, that information is going into the database, and exactly that is what we are going to do first. Now let me just open the code for you to understand. So you can, if you come here now, let me see. Sorry, is this the code I want to open? Okay. No. This is not the work. This is my work. I want to open my work. Right. Good. Now this is API server now that I just opened. Can you see all this folder structure, the folder and file? This is what we call your folder and file structure. This thing, it matters a lot the way you structure it. Now, this app.js now is where our server is being declared. So I'm going to open it now. Can you see the app.js? This is where the whole thing is going to be running from, right? Now, if you look at this app.js now, I have the express framework being declared here. We are familiar with this. Const express equals to require express. This is how you declare your framework, right? So now we have a route which we have also said, okay, we are going to use these two routes. Now this is item route and this is user route. Now, we have this one before, right, in the previous assignment, but user route is what we are introducing now because our application needs to relate with the user route because our application is going to be confirming the user that do we have this user in our database or not before we can allow access to some function, to some methods, right? So that is why we need a user route, and that is what is being created in this folder. You can see users. If I open users here, you will see that is where we have the users router.js. So I'm going to open user router.js now. So I want you to note this. You create a separate folder for your user router, right? So, but that user router is going to be imported, right, inside this, your application. This is your main application, which is the app.js, where everything is going to be running from. Am I communicating? Yes, I want response. Am I communicating?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's very good. So this app.js now is where everything is going to be running from. Now, we are going to import this user router there because we want our app to relate with it, right? That's why we are making that import in this line 4, right? Now, when you are importing, please pay attention to this, your paths. That is where some of those bugs used to come in at times. So you need to pay attention to this, your part. And when you are writing this part, you are going to consider where your application is, right? This is your app.js. Now, if you look at it, let me close this user folder now. If you look at the app.js, you will see that it is located in the root directory of this API server. This API server is our root directory. That's the folder. Means from the root directory API server, then slash users, you come directly into this folder called users, right? There, yes, which is the router that is here. So this is how you write it. So when you are making this part, please consider where the application is. You are importing this particular route from this app.js. So you need to mind this part very well. Say dot, that is from this same directory that we have app.js. That's the meaning of this dot, right? So where are we moving to? We are moving inside this user folder. That's why we have user here. Then from that user, we will now be able to access what? Users router.js, which is in that users folder, right? So having said that, we'll be able to import this users route. Now, this name here, user route, is just a variable, right? It's just a variable that is holding everything that we have in this user route. Everything we have here. I'm going to open this user router now. You will see what is there, right? So everything we have there is being represented. This is what is holding it. The container holding it is this user route, right? So now you are now saying at line 11, look at line 11 now. You are now saying application, this application, I want you to use this particular URL format. You can see the first parameter here is going to be what you want your URL to look like. It can be anything. Do you understand? You are saying, okay, what I want is that in the URL, whenever we say slash users from the root, the root is this API server. You are now saying from the root slash users. And your root is going to be this what? This localhost dot dot the port number. That is the root directory, which is pointing to this API server, right? Where your application is running from. Now you are saying after localhost port number, then whenever we have slash users, then I want you to invoke. This is an invocation statement here now. I want everything in the user route to be what? To be invoked, right? Now, how do you now do that now? You now go back to your user router and say, okay, this user's route, what does it represent? What is actually inside it? What will the application do with it, right? So you need to go inside this user route, which is this part here at line 4, right? So let's go inside it now and see what is there. User router.js. I'm going to open it now. So we are moving to the next stage. We are moving to the next stage now, but I want you to get this first stage very well. Do you understand? You just need to understand how this thing works and you will find it very easy. As I said, this is where your application is running from and you are importing what is inside this user router, inside your application, because you want your application to relate with it. So now, what is our application relating with now? We want to open it. Now, I'm going to open user router.js. Now, let's open it. Good. Now, this is our router, user router.js now. Do you know what we want to do with this route? We want to create user. That is the point. Let's get our goal right. We want to create users. Because when you go into Facebook, you go into, even when you want to download some application, you will be asked to sign in, right? So now this is exactly what we are trying to do now. We want to create logic, a business logic now for people to sign in. That is the essence of this route now, that when people go to slash users, we want this line 10 to function. And what is this line 10 doing? The line 10 want to create user. You can see the controller now. Please, your attention should be paid to the controller first. That is the essence of this particular route, because the controller is going to contain the function, the endpoint function. When you say endpoint, you are saying what will finally happened. What will finally happen? That is the endpoint. So you are saying controller, whatever I have in this controller is just a container. Say, okay, I want users to be So we are going to open the controller now and see what is there. But just write it like this for say controller dot create user. This is what I want you to do. Right? Mind you, do you know that this controller, you can even give it another name? We call it controller. That's why we are using controller. Do you understand? So that your code base can be easily understood by other engineers, right? So don't bother. That this controller is just a name given to you. You can give it another name if you like. And that is why if you want to build your own, what is it called? Your own framework, you can build it, and have different name. Now somebody give this thing controller now. Controller no be English word, say control and do something for me, right? So you can give it your own name, but by convention in Express.js, that is what they call it, controller. But this one now, you can even give it another name here. This one can change, right? But let's use controller now. Controller.create user, that's what you want to do. Now, mind you, the question now is that, will you just allow users to be created like that without checking some certain things? No, you can't just allow users to be created like that. Some things have to be checked. Now, the fundamental thing that has to be checked is that, is this person even entering the username and password at all? Right? Imagine somebody want to sign in and the person is not putting in the username and password in that input field, that particular field that should contain it. Then you want to send back a message that the person should what? Should enter username and password. You want to send back that message. So, and that is the reason why we have middleware.check body now. Am I communicating, please? That is why we have middleware.check body, because we need to check that is this person actually filling that input field that we want the username and password to be. That is why we need middleware.check body, right? So even in your own application, you may decide you want to check some other things, right? So it's something you can customize on your own and have it in your own way. But in this case now, we only want to check if the person is putting in the username or password, or the person is not. That is the essence of this check body. Now, imagine after this logic now, we are going to open the middleware now and open the controller and see how the code is written to check the body and to also what? Create user. That's the next thing we are going to move on to. Don't forget where we are coming from. From our application, we have told our application to run this user route, the whole of this thing here. And in order to be able to run, reason we have this line 14, right? We are exporting it because we exporting, right? So export is very important. If you don't export, then your app will not link up with this particular router, will not be able to relate with it. So whenever there is export, there is not put any curly brackets here. See, maybe something like this. Bracket there. If you put curly brackets here, you will make mistake. There will be a bug and your application will not run. Please note it. That is how the language is structured. Whenever you are exporting a route, you are not going to put curly brackets there. Let us note that. Am I communicating, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
good. Because this is some of those things that people, I've seen so many people saying my code is not working, my application, and this is some of the mistakes that are always being made. Please don't put curly brackets here whenever you are exporting a route, right? Now, listen to me. You will
Yeah.
notice at line
Sorry, Mr.
two.
Suleiman. Sorry, sir.
Okay, okay,
Emanuela is raising her hand up. I think she has
okay.
to.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Okay, sorry
Okay,
for cutting it short.
okay.
Does this mean that um exporting a route is different from exporting more than one function?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I'm coming there. That is just it. I dictated that personally. Nobody told me that because I ran into issue when I put curly brackets when trying to export my route. I ran into issue and I dictated that is where the problem is coming from.
What if someone has more than one route?
Of course, if you have more than one route, the routes are going to stay in different files. You know, a route is a separate file, right? So you can't have two routes in a single file. A route is is a single file. A file go for a route. A file goes for
Same
a
with
route. So
controllers, right?
for controllers, yes, same with controllers. Same for controller. But for your middleware, you can have a lot of functions, right, for your middleware because you can check a lot of things. You can check a lot of things. But for controller, it's going to be one because there is a particular task, a single task that has to be performed, right? No, for controller, hello, are you with me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
For controller, sorry, you can have more than one task for controller. You know, controller, you can post in your controller as well. You are going to have your posting, your getting, your updating, your deleting. That's where. So you can have all these functions in a controller and you can export all of them together. So controller can take more than one function. Then you are going to use your curly bracket. Are you getting me to bring all of them together? But for a route, it's going to be a single route exported. So routing is different from in the way you export your route is different from the way you export your middlewares and your controllers. Is that clear?
Yeah, please, I have a
Yes.
question. The one we
Oh,
are exporting from that line 14, is it line 6 we are exporting, or we are exporting 6, 8, and 10?
we are exporting only line 10. We are exporting line 6. Do you know line 6 says that your user router
Uh-huh.
eh, is
Yes.
containing express.router? And do you
Oh,
know that this right?
I think your network is breaking. You can come again.
Sorry, I know you.
Okay. Listen
Yes,
now.
yes,
Is it clear
yes,
now?
yes.
Is it clear now? Is it clear now? Good, good. Now, where you are declaring your
Okay.
user router is line 6, right? And you are now
Yes.
assigning it. You see, this express.router is the main thing. This is the engine. This is the engine room. This is what is actually doing everything. Express.router, right? You are only assigning it to a variable called user router. This user router can be any name. Give it any name. You like give it your name, right? So we are only saying,
Okay.
okay, let us hold it with something so that by the time we want to export it, we will have a name to export it with.
With okay.
So invariably, express.router is controlling everything that is happening here. It is the
Okay.
engine room that contain what is happening in line 10. We are now
Okay.
saying, okay, when it is happening, how will our application relate with it? Let us now export it. That is why we
Okay.
are exporting it. And if you come to your application, app.js, you will see it here at line 4. And
Okay.
let me tell you, this forget about this left-hand side of the equation now. Focus on the right-hand side. Require dot slash users dot slash user dot
User
router dot
dot
js.
router there. Okay.
This is the main thing. This is the main thing that you are exporting.
Okay.
Are you getting me?
Okay.
You know this user router. Look at it. I'm going inside user router again. See this user router, everything here. You know it is a file, Abi.
Yes.
It is a file. Then look at app.js. It is that file that we are trying to get the path to it here. You can see that
Okay.
it ends with users.router.js,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So you are trying to get the path to that router and say,
Okay.
okay, after getting it, let me assign it to a variable.
Okay.
And the variable you are assigning it can be any name. You know, all these variable can be anything.
Sure. Sure.
I just say, okay, let me call it user route. So I
Okay.
have now assigned it. After assigning it, you are now coming to line 11 and you are saying my application use it in line 7. That's what you are saying here.
Okay.
You are saying
Uh,
use it here.
Emanuela is raising
If
her hands up.
Okay, okay.
I think he has a question.
Yes, Emanuela, talk.
Okay, can you go back to that user.router.js?
Okay, user.router, I'm there now. Yes,
This body parser,
yes.
can you explain it? What
Okay,
it's doing?
okay, that's very good. I'm coming there. Okay, we are moving forward now. Let's move forward to the user persona. Now, do you know that when you are saying middleware.check body, it is a function that is being called, right? And this function, we actually need some things to make it work. It needs a particular middleware as well to make it work. Without that middleware, this check body will not even work. So we have a middleware, a third-party middleware that is called bodyparser.json. It is a third-party middleware. We are not writing the middleware ourselves. What we have in middleware.checkBody is a middleware that we are writing ourselves, which I'm going to open now. I'm going to open that now. Writing ourselves, which is just a function. Middleware is just a function. Don't let them just use this thing, scatter your brain. Middleware is just a function, the function that we are used to when we are doing our JS. So forget about, don't let middleware confuse you. Middleware is just function. They just give it a name, middleware, and it's becoming confusing. So don't bother about it. It's just function. Okay, the function check body. Before it can work, it needs this particular function at line 8 called bodyparser.json to work. And what is it doing? I'm going to open the middleware.check body now. You will now see the reason why we need this line 8. Because this one we want to relate. The middleware.check body, we need to relate with line 8 for it to be able to work. Without this middleware.check body will not work. You'll be having problem with your code. So now I'm going to open middleware.check body now. You will now see the reason why it is important. The reason why the body parser is important. So let us go to the middleware.check body now. Now, if you look at the user folder, I have the middleware here, users.middleware. That is where I have the functions. But before I go there, this line 10, look at it very well. Why are we having middleware.check body before controller.create user? Can we not say controller.create user then middleware.check body? Can somebody just quickly say that? That's a very simple question. I just want us to figure that out before I move on. Anybody?
Maybe because middleware comes before controller.
Why? Why will middleware come before controller? Explain it.
I think middleware is where we check if the details inputted is correct. So controller is when we want to control what is being posted, like a function to control what is being posted.
Or maybe it's like a function between two other functions.
Yeah, come.
Is it not control?
Hello, can you hear me, Mr. Sulaiman? I said middleware is
I can hear you now.
checking
Yes.
if the person is putting correct details to check. Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's
Okay,
bad now. The network goes off.
okay. I
Yes,
said
I can hear you now.
I'm not sure, but it's just probably a guess or so. I said middleware is just checking
Okay.
if the person is putting a correct details. So and
Okay.
controller is controlling what is being posted just to get what you want to get. Or to create that username. Just like if you want to sign up, if you want to check if the person is putting
Yeah.
maybe an empty username or password. So middleware is what we check.
It's bad. Okay, Mr. Munirudin, don't worry. The network is going up and down. So let me just quickly say
All
that.
right.
You see, middleware is that before, you see, I told you before that controller.create user is what you want to achieve, which is just to create user. And the method that we use to create user is post. Yes. Am I correct? Post, right? Posts.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Good. Now we use post to create the user. Now, before posting can happen, I want to check that is the person even putting anything for me to post? That is the essence of middleware. So of course now it's reasonable that I have to check whether you are putting something for me to post before I can post. So that is why middleware must come before controller. And to make it clearer, controller must always be the last thing, because that is exactly what you want to do. It is the end point. We always use that terminology, end point. It is the end pointer. It points to the final thing that we want to do. Now, let me say something now, which means that middleware, when you are writing function for middleware, there will always be next. And when you are writing function for controller, there will not be next. That answers that, because some people are asking, why is this one having next? Why is this one not having next? That is the answer to it. This middleware function will always have next. I'm going to show you now, but I want you to get the picture before I show you. This middleware will have next, and controller, this create user now, will not have next. Why? Because after checking, we want the next thing to happen, which is create user. But after creating user, what next do you want to happen again? Nothing. So you don't need next here, but you need next here. So let me open the middleware and see. So I want to move to the next stage. Now, this is it.
Yeah. Okay. Emanuela hands is up. I think she has a question.
Okay. You can ask.
Okay, does this mean that you know that controllers, they have like more than one functions, and at the end of the day you have to like export them? Does this mean that you can actually like separate the functions inside different files?
Okay, let me open it now. Let me go back to the I will answer you like 10. I said user router host. Can you see? This is only an report. When you get to your computer, of course, the
Sorry,
delete,
your
right?
network.
Which I'm eh?
Can you please come again? The network is breaking. Your network is breaking.
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. At line 10, you will see for yourself, it's clear that what I am saying here is user router.post.
Post.
That means I am only handling the post method in the controller. That is what I want to handle now. So this is only for post. So if I want to handle another thing in the controller that will not be post, that means I need to come again and say user what? User router dot what? Dot maybe I want to get now. Then I will state the middleware inside here too, and the controller for what? For get. So it means as I am what? As this create user now that is here, in my controller, I may have get user. Maybe I have, let me just do away with the create now. Let me say controller dot what? Dot get what? Dot get user.
Yes.
Are you there? Are you there,
Yes.
Manuela? Now
Yes.
look at it now. Look at this one. It's not changing the color to yellow. This one is blue. Do you know why?
We
The
don't have
reason
Because
is
we don't have a
we
function for get user.
we don't have the function get user inside that controller. That is why it's not giving it any change in color here.
Yeah.
It's not relating. The router here is not relating with anything get user from the controller. That is why you are not having get user. So the same importation here at line 2. Look at line 2. You can see that at line 2, I am importing the controller part. This user.controller, see it here. Where is it? User.controller, see it here. Users.controller, that is the file. I am importing that file here in the router because I want my router to relate with it. And now assign it to what? To controller. That is why I am saying controller dot here. That means if I don't assign it controller, if I just say assign it to control, so it means here what I will say is what? Control. It will still work. Look at it. I have changed it to control. It will still work. It is just what I assign it to control. That is what I'm writing here. My code will still work like this. It's not compulsory that I call it controller. I can give it any name. Am I communicating?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that answers your question. So you can have several methods in your controller that you want to export. Like, let me open the controller now. If you see the controller here for this particular form, you can see I am only exporting create user here. I am not exporting anything like get user. So, but it's possible. I'm still going to show you in the controller for the items. Let me just quickly show you. Don't worry, don't let me show you now because I don't want all these things to scatter. Let me be setting it one after the other. So I'm coming there, Emanuela. Are you there? So
Yeah.
let us go to the middleware now. Let's go to the middleware. Now we are in the middleware now, right? And in our middleware now, we are saying we want to check body. You remember? You remember? Let me go to our user router. That is what is related. I said middleware.check body. Don't forget, I have imported that part to the middleware. I have imported it here at line 3. And now assign it to middleware. That's the variable name I gave it. That is why I am now calling on that variable now. I said this variable middleware dot, because it contains check body. That's why I'm saying dot check body. If you go there now, see the middleware, you see that this middleware, which I have called control, I have called what? Middleware now. It contains check body truly. And this is the check body function, right? And if you look at the function, it has request, response, and next because it is a middleware. Next must be there because after checking the middleware, the flow has to what? Has to be taken by the controller. So that is the flow. Next means after doing this check, next. Look at line 13. Next means go and do the next thing, which is for the controller to now do the what? To do the posting. Now, how do we check the body? Look at it. I said, if you want to check the body, what do? You check what is in the body of your request. What is in the body of your request? Like now, look at it now. This is the body of the request. Look at it. I'm in my postman now. Can you see my postman? Now, the
Yes.
body of the request is this. Look at it. See my cursor here. This is the body of the request. Here, I want to enter username and password, right? I'm going to delete it. I want to what? Enter username and what? And password. And don't forget, it is not slash item. I said slash what? Slash users. So this has to change to users. Users. So what is required is what? Is username and password. Username, right? And the username is going to be what? Um, let's say our user is what? Is Emanuela, right? This is our user, Emanuela, right? Then is coming up, she's coming up with a password. And in this case now, our password is what? Let's say the password is Iman. Or let me say the password is what? Is Ella. Ella24 or Ella, let's say Ella24. Let's leave it like that. This is the password Ella24 and the username is what? Emanuela. Can you see it now? Now, what I want to do now is to what? Is to post. Now, what we are trying to say now is that what? What is contained in this body now? We want to grab it. We want to grab what is inside this body. And that is what we are trying to do here at line 2. We want to grab what is inside that body. We are now saying if not request.body.username or not request.body.username.trim. Okay, leave this one first. Let me explain this. Request.body.username. Of course, it makes sense now. Shebi, everything we have here. Now, look at response here. Response is below here. If you look at your postman, this is response. But above here is where we have what? Request. So we have request up, we have response down. Now, we are now saying this request object dot body. We can have dot headers, we can have dot body, right? That is the one we have been using so far, right? This authorization is linked with the header. I'm going to explain that now. That is what we want to even treat here now. Now, go into body, then go to username. You can see. So if you say request.body.username, it is going to store this value in Manuela. It's going to store this value, LR24. That is what it's going to store. So we are grabbing those values. We are grabbing those values by this, right? So request.body.username, we grab Emanuela. And request.body.username.trim, we also grab Emanuela. So what is the difference between this and this? The reason is that, well, look at it now. In case maybe when she was writing the username, there is a space here. Look at it. Or maybe even two white space. We call it white space. Another space here. You can see there is white space here, there is white space here. But in order to grab Emanuela, we need to trim. Trim means I want to remove these spaces here. The space in front and the space at the back. I want to remove it. I am only interested in this word, Emanuela. That is why I am saying what? I am saying, sorry, where are we? Okay, that's why I am saying dot trim. That trim it and grab Emanuela. She was what? Entering her name. So that is the essence of this one. So you can see our code is robust. This is what they call into every possibility, right? So we are not saying request.body.username. If not, that means when the name is not entered. Then if not, in these two cases, right? Then what will happen? We need to return a response. We need to return a response. And what is going to be that response? That means user, we say status 401. That is not found. We did not know the person. When you don't enter username and password, we don't know you. So username first, we don't know you. Then the message is going to be username is required, that we want you to enter your username because you did not enter it. Then you come here and check the password as well, the same way that if not request.body.password, the same way you grab the username, you also grab the password here, right? Then the status is going to be 401. Then we tell you that password is required. Then having checked this and checked this, then the next thing will be what? Next. That is, you should be allowed to make your posts. So I'm going to check that now. You are going to see. Let me check that first for you to see. Let me just start the application. Let me start the application. npm start. Oh, sorry, it will not start. I'm not in the right directory. There's going to be error. Can you see that? Because I have not moved into the API server here. I am in the week 4 assignment. So what do? I need to see default into what? Into API server. Are we together?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So let me clear to make everything clear. Okay, good. Now I am in the API server. I can now run my code, npm start. That is the script I set to run my code. Your own can be nodemon API app.js, but I use npm start, right? So I enter. So you can see, okay, what is wrong? Did I put anything? App crash, waiting for file changes before
You
starting.
change your controller name, don't forget.
Yes, I change it. Can that be the issue? Let me check. Let me check. Okay,
That's
user
the issue.
route. Okay,
You,
that is
you,
the issue.
uh-huh,
Look at
you
it here.
put
It
get
is it is
get
it is not linking here.
yes.
It is not linking here. Okay, let me change it. Controller.
You
Okay.
can delete that get as well.
Yes, let me delete that. That is where the issue is coming from. Okay. What? Control. Okay, that is out. Okay, so let's run it again. So you just press your this thing. Okay, it has started even running. You can see
Yes.
automatically it has started running. So now what do we do next? We copy this. I think we even have it already on our this thing. So this is it already. It's here. HTTP localhost 4,000 users. Now I want to I want to create a user now. That's what we want to do now, right? I want to create this user, Emanuela. But let's assume that it is not filled. This space is not filled. I'm going to cut it now. I'm cutting it out now. And you just want to push without filling anything. So let's try it. We want to send, send. You can see username is required. Do you understand? Username is required. It's speaking the first logic, right? So if I put it back now, Control V, and maybe I enter the username, I did not enter the password. Let me remove the password now. Control X, and let me have it. Now let's try to make the post again. Send. Look at it. Password is required because it has been able to grab the username successfully, but it is not seeing password with our code. Remember, we said, first of all, check where's the middleware. So you can see it. Let me bring this one down. We are saying check the username. So it saw the username, that there is username. It doesn't have problem with this. Then it checked the password. It discovered that there's no password. That is why it is only password is required that is bringing. But in the first scenario that we did not enter anything, of course, the first thing to check is the username. So that is why it is bringing this message. Username is required, right? To represent the rejection. So in that case, but if we correct it now and do the right thing, let's do the right thing. Control V. Now, username, password, you can see. Let's try to create our user now. Send. You can see Emanuela has been created. Now you will notice something here, that immediately Emanuela is created, an API key and a user type is assigned to her. How does this come in? That is the next thing we are going to discuss now. She has been created successfully, but she's assigned an API key and a user type. Why do we do that? Because the assignment said our authentication must be done with the use of API key. That is why we are writing our code to assign API key and user type, because we are going to use our API key for authentication and we are going to use our user type for what? For authorization. Am I communicating? We are going to use this API key for authentication and we are going to use user type for authorization. That is why we are assigning that at the point of creating the user.
Okay.
Am I communicating?
Yes.
Good. Anybody confused? Any question before we move on?
I think, okay. Let me ask. Now we have created the username and password. What if you want to have a user type of admin instead of the user?
That is what I'm going to discuss next
Of course,
now.
next. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Uh,
Let me.
Chibike has a question. His hand is up.
Okay. Okay.
I,
Yes.
Sulamo. Sorry for dragging you back. Can you
Okay.
go to your code base?
Yes, we are going there now. Don't worry, feel free. That's why we are here to get this thing clear. Ask
So
your question.
I'm
Yes.
seeing something here.
Mm.
I'm seeing controller.js. That's at the root
Okay.
folder for
Yes, this
API
one, right?
iPhones. No, not
Okay, controller.js. Yeah.
users.controller. I'm seeing controller.js and
Yes,
also
yes, yes.
global.middleware. So what's the
Yes, yes.
relationship between this and
Okay.
the app.js?
Okay. I am coming there, Chibuke. Don't worry. You get
Sorry.
the relationship now. I am coming there. We are still going to
All right.
cover everything inside here, right? Don't
Okay.
worry, just chill.
Okay. All right.
Don't
All
worry.
right.
Just
Thank you.
just follow the way I am explaining it. Do you understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to
Yes.
model everything together. You will get the relationship now, and this thing will be very clear, right?
All right.
Now,
All right.
now, um, where am I? So we have been able to see how this middleware function now. Now, where we want to go now is that where is the API key and the user type? Where is it coming from? It is coming from our controller. Because let me go back here, our user router, immediately this check body is executed, which we have tested now. Okay, we want the posting to be possible. But at the point of posting, we want API key and user type to be generated at the point of doing the posting, which is controller.create user. So that assignment, that creation of API key and user type happens here. So I'm going to open this now and you will see the way it happened. Are we good to go? Good. Let's open it now. Users.controller, that is where it is coming from. I'm going to open it now. Now, this is it here. This is it here. Now, look at it. This is where it happens. But before I go, there's something I want to mention. Yes. There's something I want to mention. So I'm back to the middleware. Are we there?
Yes.
Now, you say, look at here. I said, if not request.body, that means this particular code is able to access what we have in the body, right? When we are checking the username and password. Are we there?
Yes.
Are we there?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know that this particular grabbing of the username will never be possible if in our router we did not put this line 8, which Emanuela was asking the other time. Look at line 8. It will never be possible. It is this line 8, at this point, middleware.check body, the other code in the middleware is happening here, right? It is executing here. So without this line 8, this execution will not be possible because inside this check body, we have request.body inside it, right? We have what? Let me write it. Request.what? .body. Anytime you are making request.body, you of course want to target something, maybe .username or maybe .password. You want to target something. Whatever you are targeting with your request.body, it will never be possible if you don't have body parser at line 8. It is a middleware that will always make this to happen. I think that is clear now. That was the question.
Can you just explain the function of that body parser? Is it to convert to a string or to convert to a JSON? I don't know.
Okay.
Is it that buffer of
body parser?
God bless you. You remember when we were writing our code without framework? You remember that we always say request.onData, request.onEnd.
That we use buffer.concat.
Buffer.concat. Then we now do to string.
Yes.
Then to JSON.pass. Remember?
Pass. Yes, I remember.
Until you do all those wahala before you can be able to grab what is in the body.
Okay.
Can you now see the beauty of framework now?
Okay. So that body parser is going to compress everything. It will
compress everything, my brother, for you.
Okay.
That is the beauty of framework.
Okay.
So that is clear now. So let us now go to the controller and see how this user was able to generate API key and user type. Are we good to go? Let's go there now. So this is the controller. In the controller, we will need access to our database because we want to push something inside that database. We want to create user. And for you to create user, you will definitely push what is in the body of your request, as in the Emanuela and the password of Emanuela, which is the username and password. You need to push it inside the database so that it can be there. Look at our database now. I'm going to open our database now. Look at the database. Look at user.json. This is where I have my database. It's a different folder, DB. And I have 2 databases inside it. We are coming to item.json because that is the cocoa. That's where we are going. But at this stage now, we want to create user. Now, users.json now, let me open it. Look at what is there. Emanuela is there already. Look at Emanuela here. Username Emanuela, password LR24. Let me make it better for you to read. Just come here and say Alt-Shift-F. Alt-Shift-F. You can see it has arranged it for you in a readable format. Look at it. Let me go back. Here, look at it. You can see she's the last user here. These are other users that have been created. Then Mr. Muniruddin, look at this first user, is admin, right? Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
And others are users. I'm going to
Okay.
show you in the code base how we come about that now.
Okay.
But the good thing is that Emanuela has been added. You can see her now. Okay,
Yes.
good. Now let's go to our code, our controller, and let's see how that happens. Now, because it is that database I want to push the username and password to,
Sir,
I
please,
need.
sorry for bargaining. We have someone that has a question. Jimmy, please.
Okay, okay, yeah,
So before we leave this users dot JSON, I just want to get something. Did you,
okay,
when you were creating the JSON file, did you create
yes,
uh, like you, is it an empty
Like
JSON file, or
an
you,
already existing
yeah,
file.
existing
yes, yes, yes,
data?
yes. Yes, yes. We discussed that in the last class, but because
Yes.
of the load of assignments, that we need to do a lot of things we need to read, we have not been able to attend to that and figure it out. As I said in that last class, what is obtainable presently, as far as I know, is that there should be an existing user there by
Okay.
default, which you can actually delete. You can
Okay.
delete it yourself. Maybe it is those posted you actually, as an admin of an organization, you will have access to the database. Am I communicating? So for your application to work, you can just create a
Your
user by
own,
default, a fake user.
like
No,
admin.
it
We can.
it it may not be your own. Just create a fake user. Just
Okay.
create a fake user by default. Then
Okay.
when you are now signing up as an admin yourself, of course, you will be registered as an admin, right?
Okay.
You'll be registered as an admin. Then you can now delete manually. You can
Okay.
delete manually the fake user that you have in your database. But that being said, I believe there should be a way out not to have any fake user before the posting will be initiated. So,
Okay.
which we are going to figure out. Don't worry, let us work on that later. Are we there?
Yes.
Okay, good. We can move forward now. Now, this is our controller, right? Um, we are creating user because the reason why we are having line 4 and line 5 first is that we want to go and bring out what we have in the database because we are going to be pushing the new user inside it. So we need to read it out. And that is why we are importing FS module here that will enable us to be able to read our database. Now look at our database. This is it. We are reading it synchronously. We don't need to do any async and await here. Do you understand? Of course, you can use async and await as well, but we don't want to do that. We just want to read it synchronously. We don't need to do async and await. A form of promise. You understand? So now, what are we doing? We are reading it and storing it inside user data. This is our fs.refacing. Now you can see dot, which means that from this our working directory API server, we are accessing the database, then going directly inside the user.json here. So it enables us to read it. Then after reading it, it's going to be a string. So we are JSON.pass it. I've explained all this before. So you JSON.pass it to convert into an object. Because if it is not a JSON object, you will not be able to iterate over it in line. Where is it? Where do we do that iteration here? Okay. Where is it? Okay. We are not even iterating here. We don't need to iterate here anyway, but you will not be able to push as well. Line 15 will not be possible. Look at line 15. User database dot push. We are pushing something inside this user database. So it will not work if you don't convert it to JSON. This is where bugs used to come up. So I was telling Iremide before we started this class that you need to pay attention to some details and it will reduce your chance of getting bugs. You will be less stressed. So let's take note of all this. So it has to be an object before this your pushing is going to be possible, right? So here we have JSON.parsit and is now an object, which is user database. Right, fine. Then the next thing for us is to grab what we have in the body of the request. That's our Emanuela and the Emanuela and the what? and the username and the password, right? So we need to
Yes.
grab it here. You can see request.body here again. You can see
Okay.
it
Yeah.
here again.
Sorry for coming in, please.
Yes.
I can see that you have assigned admin for Sulaiman. What if you want to have multiple admin? Is it going to be inside that if then we'll have or new
God
user
bless you.
dot? Okay.
That is it. That is it. So if you want to have multiple admin, okay, I'm coming there. Don't let me skip. Let me now. You can see here. We now say let our request.body be stored inside new user. Then immediately we are now assigning an API key. Now we are now saying new user, which is what we have, a representation of everything we have in the body that contains the username and password. We are now saying dot API key to be equals to. Now at this line 8, this is where the API key is being generated. You are now saying, okay, I want to generate an API key from the username and password that has been grabbed by line 7. I'm now saying new user dot username underscore new user dot password should be the value for the API key. That is what we have in line 8. Yes. Any question here? Line 8. Is line 8
Okay.
clear?
Sorry. So the user key was generated by us using the username
Yes.
and the password.
Yes. Using
Okay.
username and password.
But in the
Exactly.
case, let's just assume probably I want to add a random number at the end of that
Mm,
underscore
mm,
username underscore password. Can I put a
mm.
random function like a random
See,
uh
my brother, if you like,
okay
you can even use math.floor to
floor?
generate
Yes,
random number as your
numbers.
API key. Do you
Okay,
understand?
okay, okay.
Eh,
Just
that
like
is
when we want to sign up to some website, they will give us a generated password. So
exactly,
we'll be the one to go and change it by ourselves once we
exactly,
verify our account. Okay, okay,
exactly. You can do that.
okay.
Most of the one you will even see. Let me see. What do we even call this thing? Oh, I want to remember something. All these numbers that we write now, this our user number from math.floor is a decimal number. Do you understand? You can have numbers in binary, right? You can have
Yes,
numbers in octa. You can
yes.
have number in the
Ex-
hexadecimal, which is 16 bits, right? Then you can have in 36. So you can even have it in hexadecimal instead of decimal number. So that is when you will see letters being mixed with number as an API key. Do you get
Okay,
what I'm saying? You
okay.
know, this hexadecimal number is a mixture of letters and number.
Letters
Emanuela,
and
we
number.
understand that. She's a computer science student. So is you see, you have letters and number being mixed together, for hexadecimal and that
Emanuela,
of
why are you
36.
laughing? Why are you laughing now? We are not computer science students.
So you can use that to generate API key instead of just combining your username underscore password. It can be anything you like. It depends on how your organization wants it to be. Are we there? Now let's move on. Now this is where we generate the API key. Then the next thing is for now to assign user type now by saying if new user dot username is equals to Sulaiman, then the new user dot user type should be equals to admin. You can see, look at line 11. The same thing we did in line 8 is what we did in line 7, but there is a condition for it in line 10. You can see that now. We are saying the condition should be that, okay, new user dot user type, we want to give it admin, somebody an admin. Who is that person? Then the person should be Sulaiman. And we can even create more admin. I'm going to do that now. We are going to test it. Let me say, and now let me just copy this. And what? Control
Is it
V.
going to be
And
add or?
or God bless you.
Uh-huh.
That's
Because
correct.
and when you have
Yes.
wrong one,
Yes.
it's going to
Yes,
be
you are very correct. It's going to be or new user dot username is equals to. Now let me put Muniruddin now. You can see
okay.
now. So now I'm going to create another user, which is going to be Muniruddin now. And you will see that it's going to assign admin to you. right? So now let's move on before we do that, before we test that now. We are saying new user dot username if it is Sulaiman or Monirudin, then new user dot user type should be what? Admin. You can see. Then else new user dot user underscore type should be equal to what? User. So every other person apart from Sulaiman and Monirudin will be given the user type what? User. You can see that. That is why it was giving Emanuela user, because we don't have the condition for Emanuela to be an admin from line 10. Are we there? So once that has been done, the next thing is for you now to say, okay, it has checked it. We have actually create user type and API key for the new user. The next thing is for us to what? To write it into the database, because it is only username and password that we had before. Now we have generated the what? The API key and the what? And the user type, all of them together now. We want to write it in our database. So this writing has to come. But before writing, you need to push it. Sorry. Let me bring this down so that you can see it clearly. Line 15. Line 15 is pushing it. The new user now, this new user now, that now has username, password, API key, and user type, right? Which we have created. We are now pushing it inside user database. You can see the user database in line 5. You know, we read it out before. So we are now pushing it inside it. So you can see the reason for this line 4 and 5 now. So I want to believe you understand that. That's why we are now pushing it inside it. So after pushing it, then you now write it out. You now write it,
So
because
that means we are pushing two values inside our database now. We are pushing the user type and we are pushing the API key.
so we are pushing four values:
Okay.
username,
Okay.
password,
Okay.
API key, and user type. It is the 4 that we are pushing.
You
You know,
okay, no,
the middleware have checked the username and password for us
password.
under the
Okay.
middleware. Here
Okay.
now we are now saying, okay, with the username and password, we also want API key and user type. All the 4 together, push it inside the database.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
write it out.
Okay.
You can see.
Okay.
So that is it. So write it inside it. So we are, and you know, when you want to write, you must stringify, because you cannot
Yes.
write object. It's an object here. You must change it to a string when you are
Fine.
writing it. So then we write it. Then you have your if condition for error. If there is error at this stage, everything is successful. That means there is internal server error. If if there is error here, it's going to be 500. Please always take note of your status code. Very, very important. Then if everything is successful, then it's going to be 200. Then you have .json new user. This new user that we just created, that contain the username, password, API key, and the user type. You are now bringing it out from the response objects. That's what we are doing in line 23. So that is it. That is how the controller works. And look at line 27. I told you, from our item router, where we started from. Where is our item router? User router rather. If you look our user router, you will see that we imported the controller at line 8. And I told you, for anything to be imported, it has to be what? Exported. So that is why we are having this export statement here at line 27.
Okay, that means the username we created, we export it to this
No,
port.
no. We are, this create user is just a
Yes.
function here inside the controller file.
Okay,
This,
okay,
this is
okay.
no, where it is running from, right? It is running from the user router here. Look at it here at line 10. If it at run there, lele, okay, function. That one is just a function. This is where we are calling
Okay,
the function.
okay, okay. The function we are calling it from
Then
the controller. So okay,
yes,
okay,
no, we are
okay.
calling it from the route, from the
Route.
router. Yes,
Okay,
that's the route. This is the route. You can see line 6. This is the user router here.
route.
Now we
Okay,
are calling it inside the router. So
okay,
it is this inter router. Now we need to import it here to be able to call it. That's why we are importing it at line 2. But before the importation will be possible, there must be export, right? Right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So this is the export statement here. This is the export statement here. And I told you, you are exporting a function. Emanuela asked that question the other time. You know, this is a function you are exporting. So then you must put what? You must put curly brackets. It is a function that you are exporting. That's why we are having curly brackets. Is that clear?
Yes.
But the other time when we are exporting the route, see the route in the router here, where we are exporting it, there is no curly bracket, right?
Yes.
Okay, I want to ask question here so that we can be clear. Why are we exporting the route? I need an answer. I have said it before. I just want to ask again so that we can keep track of what we are doing.
You
Why
know, we
do we
are.
export?
Can I answer?
Yes, yes.
We are exporting the route because we have our we are line 6. We have declared our router here using Express there.
Uh-huh.
So we have these two. We want to import this 8 and number 10.
Mm, mm.
So we want to import it such that when we want to check our body and the
We
claim.
want to export it. We want to
Yes,
export it. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
yes.
Yes. Okay, we want to export it. Yeah, where is it now? Where we are, where it is
Okay, where are
exported
we?
to?
It's as exported to app.js.
App.js. That's what I want to get. Perfect. It's exported to app.js because that is where it is going to be running from. Look at it. This is its
Yes.
user
Yeah.
route
So
in
this is
our
where we are.
app.js.
Yeah, yeah.
This is where the whole work is
We
coming
are
from.
making use. This is where we are making use of all the.
This is where we are making use of everything. You see, this one now, we grab that router. That router, we say, even myself, I no go fit work myself. Oh, make I go to middleware and controller, go get wetin go make me work. Can you see it now? You can see how they depend on each other now. User router now, it is our where we have our application now. We are now saying, okay, this user route, okay, you cannot work alone. You need to go to the middleware and what and controller to grab your functions that will make you to work. So that's why in this user, this is the route now. We are also importing middleware and controller before this route will even function. Do you understand? So let's get that. Let's get that. Please hold on. Give me just a few seconds. Few seconds. Hello.
Yeah, we are here. We are here,
Hi.
boss.
Okay, good, good. Now, is that clear now? So we are done with the user of a thing now, but let's try to run it by creating a user with a Munirudin. What we wrote the other time. Let's try to test it. So Munirudin, yeah. So let's say the password is Munir. So this is the password. So let's try to create this particular user and see if it's going to be assigned admin instead of user as in the case of Emanuela. So let's run it. Send. Can you see now? Assign admin. So perfect. And you can see the API key is the username underscore the password. The API key and the user type has been generated. Perfect. So you can see how this thing works, right? So now let's move on. Let's move on. Now, we want to do with these users. What do we want these users to do? Of course, we have a database called item.json. Look at this item.json. This is this is what we have. We have meat, we have salad, we have ice cream, we have rice, we have orange, we have bag, we have chocolate. Into our application as users. We want them to be able to access our items and, by extension, to be able to make some shopping, right? So they will need access to this database to do their shopping. Am I communicating, right? Then the next thing is that, okay, for them to be able to access, what is the limitation? What and what should they be able to do? Now, as users, we want them to only be able to access what we have in the database by getting it. They should not be able to post. They should not be able to delete, and they should not be able to update. Yes, Chibuke, are you there?
Okay. But they will be able to get.
Yes, yes.
They can only get.
Okay.
They can get. Chibuke, I want you to repeat. The user be able to do and what will the admin be able to do?
Sorry, I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, who is
I
that?
just joined. This
That
is
is a
Lola. I just joined.
Oh,
Are you
Lola, you are
using,
welcome.
thank you. Are you using Express.js for this? Or just
Yes,
regular JS?
this is Express.js.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, good. That is what the instructor asks us to do, Express.js. So you can't even use vanilla, without Express, without framework. So yeah, it has to be Express. Good. Now, I just asked a question. I said we have users and we have admin created in our database, right? Now, we want the user to be able to get only. We don't want them to be able to create. That is posting, right? It's put, right? But the admin can do all of this, can get, can post, can delete, and can also update. Now, how do we figure that out? That is the next line. Now, what do? We go to our item.js. Where is it? This is our app. This is our user. Let me close the user now. We are not accessing that now. This is our app.js. Okay. Global middleware. JSON. I'm coming. Okay. Now let me start from the app.js. Let me start from here. Now, if you look at this app.js now, we have we have we are saying our application to be able to use this line 10. That anytime we have slash items, we want the item route to be what? To be invoked. We want the item route to be invoked. And you can see we have imported the item route here. Now, where is it? You will see I have slash route, then slash item.js. So if you come to route here, let me open it, route. You can see we have item.js there, right? So let's go to the item.js, which is a route. So the user route is different from the item route. The user route, we have just finished discussing that, which is basically for us to be able to create users in our database. You can
So,
see.
sorry for barging in, Mr. Soyan. Please, can you just
Okay.
open those files side by side so that we'll be able to see? You understand? We'll be able to see
Okay.
we'll see the item
Okay.
and
Okay.
the other one you're
Uh,
explaining side by side.
oh, okay. The item and the users, right?
Yes, yes. So that we'll be able. You can just open the.
Sorry, Mr. Monudini. We should not need that because we are done with the users. We are not doing
Okay.
anything with the users now. We only want to deal with the items now.
No. I'm talking about the VS Code. Like as you open app.js now, you can open item.js beside it.
Okay. I get what you are saying now. Okay, let's do that.
That's what I'm talking
Let's
about.
let's do that. Okay.
So
Machine
when you're
open
explaining, we know
item.
what you imported to this app.js.
Okay, okay, okay. Let's have
Uh-huh.
item.js. Okay.
Okay.
Let me close the terminal. Control J. Now, okay. Now you can see this is the items.js here that we are actually using in our application. This is where everything is happening from, and we are actually we are importing it here, and this is it here, right? You can see it is being exported as router. See number 6, the same way we declared for user. So we have item router here, which is express.router. This is where you declare it using the express. We have explained all the route. Now we are saying it should use body parser as well, because we are going to be making some requests to the body. I have explained this. Then after then, what will happen? We say there should be item router.get. Item router.get again. Now the difference between this get and get is this one is for all the item. This one is one of the item. We are going to explain it. Then this one is for posting, this one is for put, and this one is for delete, right? So now I am going to this is the one we actually even need now most. Let me close this. Let me close this. Let me just open the item router, item.js, so that we can see it clearly. Now look at it. Now we are now saying this, that from this route, we want to get item. Look at the middleware. We are now saying global middleware, which is another middleware now, right? It is different from the middleware we use to check the user. This is a middleware that is checking the API key of that user now, which we have generated when we were creating the user. So we are now saying we need to check the API key. Then after checking the API key, if the API key is check API P, is it authentication process or authorization process?
Please, can you come again? Your network was breaking the other time.
Okay. Global middleware dot check API key is checking the API key of the user now that wants to get our item.
Okay.
Is this authentication or authorization?
Okay. You're asking if you want to check, is it authentication or authorization? Using
Yes,
that API key.
when you are checking the API key, we want to check the API key.
Okay.
Is it a correct API key or it is a wrong API key? That's what we are trying to do, right?
Okay.
With this global middleware dot check API key. So if it is a correct API key, that means the person is not authenticated. Yes, but if it is a correct API key, as in the API is correct, then the person is authenticated. Then the next thing will be to what? To give the person the access to the item using controller.get item. Am I communicating?
Yes.
Good.
But you asked a question. I didn't get the answer very well. The check
Okay,
API
now
key, is it
the
authentication or authorization?
good. Yes. Do you want to answer that?
No, I'm
Check API
asking.
key.
I don't get the question very well.
Okay, the answer is that it is authentication,
Okay.
and it is authentication here. And at the same time, it is authorization.
Authorization. Okay.
But wait, sorry, it is basically authentication here. You know why it is authentication? Because we are checking if the API key is correct here.
Correct. Okay.
If the API key is not correct, the person will not have access to even come to this controller at all to get any
Okay.
item. That
Okay.
is authentication.
Authentication.
Sorry, that is authentication.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Okay.
So this is basically authentication, is not authorization. So this authentication, authorization of a thing, let us get it clear
I
here.
think the authorization is basically the admin that can
Now,
add.
I will come now. If you now, I will come to authorization now. That is to get what item. The same thing with what? Line 12. Line 12 is saying, okay, slash item, then slash ID. We all understand this before now, abi? We have explained this before, that when you are saying slash dot ID, that means after saying slash item, you are now actually putting the parameter ID, which is a what? Is a part parameter. This ID now is a part parameter that is checking the ID of the what? Of the item that you want to post, right? That you
Okay.
want to get, rather, sorry, that you want to get. Is checking the ID of the item that you want to get. So if we don't have an item with that ID, it will not get it. We are going to see the logic here in control.get. We have even done that. We have done that before. Everything here that has to do with get item, get one item, we have done it before. The only thing we are adding now is this middleware.check API, middleware.check API, right? Because this is where we are doing our authentication. We are checking if the API key of the user matches with the one we have in our database. Remember, our database, when we are actually creating it, Alt Shift F, look at the database here. We already have what? We already have API key and user type. But API key, user type, API key, user type. I have explained how we generated that. As at the point of creating user, all these are generated. Now, as at the point of now creating an item now, right? Now getting an item, sorry, the point of getting an item now, we need to check that API key of that user that want to get the item. Are we together?
Yes, yes.
That means we have left the stage of signing up. You know, the stage
Okay.
of signing up is creating user, abi?
Yes.
Now, we are now at the stage of logging in now. You want to
Okay.
log in with your API key now
Okay.
in order to be able to access our item. You know, once you log in now, you will have access to the item. Like when I registered for a course on the what is it called? This GTOP Student Pack. Before I can have access to those videos, I was asked to sign up. That sign up is the user creation process that I have just explained. So it has generated a username and password for me and store it in their what? In their database. Now, asking me to log in now is to get access to the videos, just like we are having access to get items here, right? So that is login now. Once I log in with that username and password, it will just open where all the videos are stored. In this our own case now, it will just open all where the items are stored for me to access the items. So that is what we are doing, is sign up and login is what we are trying to do here.
Okay. Okay. Sorry for
So
bargaining. Can we just give that get items? Can we just give it a try using Postman just to see
we
how
will do
the
it now. Don't worry, we will do it now. Let me explain.
okay.
Now, this is what is happening here. So we authenticate, checking the API key here. Then here, once the API key is correct, the authentication process is correct, then the person will get the item. Now, in line 12, we are also getting, but in this case now, see, the controller dot get one item is what is here. That's the difference between this and this. This one is get items, meaning all the items. Then this one is get one item. You are going to see the code. We have written it before, but I will still show you. Then before you can get any one of the item, we also need to check your API key, right? That's why we're having global middleware check API key again. Then let's go to line 14. At line 14, we want to post, not get. Now, look at it. There's a difference here. We have one, two, three. I have three middlewares here in line 14. Let me close this one so that you will see. Control B. Now, look at it so that you see it clearly. Um, Look at line 14. I said global middleware dot check API key. Look at it. I will check API key if the API key is correct. After checking the API key, that means the person is authenticated. The next thing is authorization, which is to check if the person is an admin or a user. This is authorization here now. You can see authentication followed by authorization. You cannot have authorization before authentication. That's the common sense. Authentication means, did I know you? I want to check your API key. Remember, if you don't sign up with your username and password, you will not have API key in the first place. Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
So, which means that we need to check your API key. This, when you have API key, it means you have signed up. You are a user. You are a user or an admin.
Okay.
Now, here now we now want to check: are you a user or an admin? That's what we are checking here now, because username and both admin and user, we have API key. So authentication is successful. Then we now check: are you an admin? If you are an admin, then next you should go to this one. I added this one. The assignment did not ask us to add this one. Me, I added this one myself, just to create something new. And what am I doing here is that I want to check the item that you even want to post. That is what I am doing here. I added this to my own code. That after checking the API key, okay, you are correct. Okay, let me check if you're an admin. It is only when you're an admin that you can come here, because I only want admin to post. User must not be able to post. So I have to check here that you are an admin. Okay, having checked that you are an admin, that means you can post, right? At the same time, I also want to check what you want to post. Maybe there's an item that we don't want, like we now that we are Muslim, we don't eat pig and we don't drink alcohol, right? So in my store, I don't want my admin, I am the owner of the company, and I don't want my admin to post pig and alcohol to what I have as item in the database, so that it will not spoil my name, so that the Muslim clerics will not come after me and say, but we know you to be a Muslim. Why are you selling pig and alcohol? We can see it in your database. So I want to what? I want to check the item. I want to check the item that the admin want to what? Want to post. That is why I'm having check item here. Then if the item does not fall into those item I don't want, then the posting should not happen. This
Okay.
is the this is the
Sorry.
end point. Yes.
Sorry, this check is what is giving me concern. Can we have a function of item we don't want in that check?
Yeah, now I will show you now. That's the next thing
Oh,
I'm going to show you now. Are you
okay.
there? I'm only
Okay.
explaining it. I'm going to show you the code that is inside all this now. Now, let us go to the code and see now. The same way
Alata,
for puts.
Alata Venta. I saw GT Bank now, Mr. Sam.
Ah, Mr. Muridi. Sorry.
you, you close it, Abi,
Okay.
no problem, no problem.
Stop that thing.
But yeah, let's face our express. No problem, no problem. I will not say anything.
Okay. Okay. Now, for you to update too, I want to check the API key, check if you're an admin, because it's only admin that can update. Then, if that is successful, then the update should happen here. Then also to delete, I want to check the API key if you are authenticated. Then I also want to check if you're an admin as an authorization, then also give you access to delete. Can you see all the process now? So let us go and see what we have in our middleware. Then we can now go to the controller. We are already familiar with the controller. We have done that before. So we are only extending extending it by using the middleware now. So Control B. So let's check global middleware. Let's open it. This is where we have all the logic. Now look at it. Here in our middleware, you can see the check API key at line 3. It ends here at line 22. Then we have check admin at line 24. That one to also end at line 39. Then we also have check item here, right? You can see. So these are the three middlewares that we have, that we are calling. You can see we use the same global middleware. We use it to call all of them because they are contained in the same file. So you can say global middleware dot check API key, global middleware dot check admin, then global middleware dot what? Dot check item. So you are using it, they are contained in the same file. Now let's move on. Now, when you are checking API key, how will you check it? This is the logic. The first thing you need to do is to read out what we have in the user database, because you want to check the API key there. So look at it now. I'm reading out the user database. Look at the path from the current directory to the database, then to the users.json, which is here. Can you see it? So I am reading out what I have in the user database here, then convert it to JSON. After converting it to JSON, then I come to line 7. What is happening in line 7 is that I want to grab the API key. Now, I'm going to open my Postman now. Look at line 7 very well. There's something we need to get very clear here. I said request.headers.api key. Remember, the one we are familiar with that we have used is request.body, when you are grabbing the username and password to create user, the one we have done before. But here we are having request.headers.api key because our API key is going to be stored in the headers. That is why. So we can only access the API key calling on the what? On the header. And I'm going to show you that now. Are we good to go?
Sorry, is it a convention that our API key is going to be stored in the header?
If you look at the
Yes, it is.
postman, yeah, it should be yes. Because if
Okay.
you look at the design of this API, this folder now, this postman now, you will see that authorization stay separate. Then we have the body here. So I think the
Okay.
convention should be authorization, though I'm still doubting that one can actually put API key in the body. It should be
Okay.
possible for you to put API key in the body. You only need to
It's
specify.
possible.
It's
It's
possible, yes.
possible, but it is the standard way is put inside the header.
Okay.
The standard way is to put inside it. That's Abdul Salam, Abi.
Yes, sir.
Man, that's my guy. Well done. Good to have
All
you.
right, I'm feeling you, boss.
Good to have you here. I told you you are not supposed to come to this class. I
let
told
me
you I will be
let me
inviting you
let
as
me
a
let me
resource
just be
person.
looking the senior engineers like a bat.
I told you I will be inviting you as a resource person. Why do you come here? Okay, no, Allah, you're welcome.
Let us be looking
uh,
like a bat. So let's be looking like you guys like a bat.
Okay. Good. Now you can see, I want to show you something here. If you open your authorization now, as I click here now, I have, this is the information I put there before. That's why it still is holding it, right? It save it. That's why you are seeing it. When you open your own authorization, you may not see anything here, but the one I wrote there is what is coming up now. Now, when you open authorization, this place is going to be blank, right? So you can now put API underscore key. Why do you put API underscore key here? It is because when you are creating the API key, this is exactly the way you wrote the what? The variable, right? You write the variable as API underscore key. If you have written it like, using camel case, as in API, then capital letter K, then EY, then the same way you are going to write it here as your key. So this is not a must that it must be underscore. It depends on the way you structure your what? Your code as at the time you were creating the API key. Remember, I explained that before, the way we created it. Can we all still remember that we are the one that assigned it to be what? API underscore key. We did it ourselves. We created it ourselves. So because of that, when you are setting the key variable here, it has to be written the same way it is here as at the time of creation. So now this is the variable, then you have the value. Now I'm going to use Muniruddin. We just created Muniruddin. So let me change the value here to Muniruddin. Remember, as at the time your API key is being generated, you will have it. You will have it. Maybe it's going to be sent to you by your. Remember when we registered for Hot School, using our username and password. When we sign it, rather, it was even, I think it's only our email that we use. A password was generated for us, right, and sent to our email, which we now use to log in. Can you remember?
Yes.
Ahead. So the same way, after having generated your API key, it should be sent maybe by email to what? To your users, right? So they can have their API key. As at the time of generating this one, Muniruddin and underscore Muniruddin 123, it should be sent to Muniruddin. Then Muniruddin can have it in order to use it here to access what we have in the database. So let me just come here and say Muniruddin, assuming that Muniruddin has gotten this by email. Are we there?
Okay.
Muniruddin underscore what? Underscore Munir
Do we always need to
123.
post to type it in this authorization before we'll be able to
Of
get
course,
what we
now
want
you
to get?
you know what we want to do now.
Yes.
You are a user that have signed up to
Okay.
our e-commerce website now. Now you are coming in to log in now. And when you want to log in, what we are requesting from you is your API key. We
API
don't
key.
need your username and password again.
Password. Okay. Okay.
It is your API key that we need. You can see the assignment say we should do authentication and authorization using API key.
Okay.
So we can also do this using username and password, right? I'm going to show you the two now, but we are using API key. That is what the assignment says. Now, what we need from you is your API key, which you have entered here. This is the value for the API key. Now, if you go to your header now, I'm going to open this header now. You will see something now. Now, see the header. Let me go up so that you will see. Now, look here. Can you see the API key has been added to the header? Can you see that in
Yes.
the header we now have API key Munirudin underscore Muni 123, and that
Okay.
explains the reason why having entered your API key, it is the header that you can only grab it through the what? Through the header, because it is saved in the what? In the header. So the reason why we are having it as what? Request, where is it now? Where is it? Okay, by 7.
Request.header.api, then 7.
Request.headers.api key. So the API key is stored in the headers. Do you now get
Okay.
that now? So we have been able to grab it. Then after grabbing it, we can now say we need to check in case the API key is not entered, right? We need to check that if not API key, then there should be a message. That should be unauthentication message. Because if you don't enter API key, it means you don't have it. Then we need to return this message that you are not authenticated. Then you can now direct the user to make it user friendly, that API key required, so that the person can know, oh, I need to log in with my API key. Maybe he forgot, then he can now get the API key and put it in. Now, if the API key is gotten and entered, then we need to do this. What are we doing? We need to check if this particular API key really exists in our database, right? Imagine, where's the body? Where is it now? Authorization. Now, this is Munirudin. This is what you entered. Imagine you omit N and you put Munirudi. This is not in our database, right? Remember, in
Yes.
our database, let me open our database, see what we have in our database. You can see it's Munirudin underscore Muni 123 that we have. So we don't have Munirudin without N. So the more reason why you need to check here that in case it is not correct, then you are saying to say found user is a variable. Forget about this first. Let me come here. You are going to say user database. You can see which we have been able to read out here, right? You now say this user database dot find. This is an iteration. You are iterating over everything you have in the user database. Say find a user for me. Okay, which user am I looking for? Okay, the user that the API key of that user is exactly, that is strictly equal to what? Strictly equals to what? Strictly equals to the API key here, which we have grabbed when you are trying to log in, right? We want to compare it with the one we have in the database. Can you now see now? We are comparing it with the one we have in the database. That's what we are trying to do here. So if it is correct, then this found user is valid, is truthy. But we are now saying if it is falsy, that a user is not found, maybe it doesn't match. Instead of Munirudin, you omitted N. It will not match. If it doesn't match, then we should have you are not authenticated. We don't have Munirudin without N, right? Then it's going to be 401 because it is not authenticated. The system did not know you. The same 401 that we return here, when you don't enter any API key at all, the system will not know the person without API key. The same way the system will not know the person with Munirudin without N here at this stage. Then, if that is correct, maybe the Munirudin is written so correctly, then next, which is the next what? The next middleware should be checked. The next middleware is going to be checked. And what is that next middleware? The next middleware is going to be what? To check the admin. Now, before we go there, let us test this one first before we go to check admin. Are we good to go? Now, let us check this. you doing very well, and you want to what? You want to get item. Now let's change this to get. Let's change it to get. You want to get item, right? And don't forget, it's going to, because we are going to be in the item route slash items. In the items route, somebody want to get what we have in our item. So our system is going to check if the person has the correct API key. This is what is requested. You need to put your API key. So the API key is not correct. We all know, right? Let us check. Send. Look at it. You are not authenticated because Munirudin is not well spelled. Now, let us now correct the spelling now and try it again. N, you can see, it's correct now. Let us try to get now. Get. Can you see? Perfect. It has gotten all the items because the API key is now correct. Are we together?
Yes.
Good. So that is exactly what is happening. So let's go back to our code. Now, now, even this thing will never be possible if Munirudin. Okay,
It's
this
not
is
an
just
admin.
this is no. This is
But you
just
are just getting now. You are just
we are
getting.
just getting. Even the user can get. Anybody
Yes,
can
yes.
get. You understand? Anybody can get. We are going to check posting now, right? And you will see that it is only Munirudin that can post. Other person cannot post. Now let's see the code first. This is authorization now. We want to check who Munirudin is. Is Munirudin an admin or a user? Now, this is the code. We are saying, okay, let's grab what we have in the database as usual. After grabbing what we have in the user database, we now want to use the API key again. We grab the API key, store it in this API key variable. Then we iterate as well to find the user that matches that API key, the same way we did up. Then having done that, now this is the difference. Now we are now saying if found user.user type, you can see, when we are creating the user, we generated this user type, right? We are not saying if the found user here that matches the API key, if the user type of that found user is not equals to admin, then there should be a message. We should return a message that says you are not authorized. If you are not an admin, you are not what? Authorized. If the person is not an admin. Can you see now? Right? Then having checked that, then next. Is it clear? Let us test that now. Let us test that now. Now, this we apply to posts. Don't forget. Let me show you. You remember that this check admin applies to posts. Let me open it. You will see it in our route item.js. Look at it. You can see in the get we don't have anything like check admin. Line 10 and 12. Do you remember? But if you go to line 14, you will see check admin there. Because we don't need to check admin for the what? For the getting. Anybody can get. Are we together?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Anybody can get. But here we are putting check admin there because we don't want anybody to get. We want only the admin to get. That's why we are putting check admin here, right? So let us test it now. Let's test it. We have written the code. We want to test it now. Let's go to the database. Okay, this is Monodin. Monodin should be able to post, right? And what you want to post is going to be in the body of the request, right? So we have entered our API key, and let's go to the body and try to post something, right? Let's put something here. Okay, then let me clean this. Let me change it. In the what we want to post, we always have a name. We always have a price. Remember, we always have a price. Then we always have a size, right? That is the format in which we store our items. We always have a size. Let's say the size is small. I'm going to change all those values too. So then it will always have a what? What again? Okay, that's all. The ID will be generated automatically. We have done that before. So name, price, and what? And let me confirm it again. Item.json. We have name, price, size. Good. That is what, that is the format. Now, let's change the item. Let's say the name of the item is, let's say, what do we want to post now? Let's say laptop. Let's say laptop. Then, let's say the price is what? Is 100,000, right? One, two, three. Let's say the price is 100,000. Let's say the size is what? Is small. Okay, it's still small. That's a small laptop. Let's say the price is what? The size is small. Now, we want to post this particular item. And we just said not everybody will be able to post. So for you to be able to post, we need your what? Your API key, which we have entered here, right? You have to enter your API key. Now we have done that. Now we want to go ahead to post. So I'm going to change this one to post now because we want to post. Post an item, okay? And this is what we want to post. Munirudin will be able to post now. Let's go. Send. Can you see? The posting is successful and it has generated an ID 8. We have done this before in the previous assignments. So we should be able to understand it. You know, this, what is it called? You can see it has our database has changed, so it means something has entered. Alt Shift F. Can you see what we just posted in our database? Laptop, price 100,000, size small, and the ID has been generated 8, right? Don't forget, we have done this before in our item.js. If you look at our item.js, you can see in the posting, after checking the API key, Munirudin is correct. Then he checked the admin. Okay, Munirudin is an admin, right? Then the next thing is to what? Is to check the item that is to be posted. Laptop is an allowed item to be posted. I'm going to show you this check item now. I'm going to show you, but because laptop is allowed, that is why this one also passed through. Then the controller.post item will now be what? Will now be invoked, which we have done before in the previous assignment. You remember? Or do you want me to explain this post item again? You know, it is through this particular function that the ID was generated. You remember we did that in the last assignment. Anybody that still don't understand how posting is done in the class? Or you just let me just or you just want me to open it? Okay, let me open it. Controller. This is the controller. This is a controller.js. I have it here. Look at it. The post item. You see, to post an item, this is the function to post an item. This is the function to post an item. You can see, in order to post an item, we are familiar with this one. We read out what is in the database. Originally, we grab what is in the body of the request that you want to post. So this is where the items are grabbed from the body. That laptop item now, it is being grabbed here. After being grabbed, we assign an ID. We have explained all this before. We assign an ID. Then after assigning an ID, then we what? We do what is called what? This is what we call spread operator. In order to add the ID to other variables that we have in the what? In that item to be posted, right? Then after
Meaning there
doing
have
that,
to be an
you said
meaning there have to be an existing data inside.
yes, there should be an existing data inside. There should be an existing data. There should be an existing. I think I've explained that before. So there should be an existing data, but we are still going to figure it out, as I said before, how we can make this possible without an existing data. I think I mentioned that before, so we look into that later. But you know, by default, for now, you can have an existing data which you can delete later. It's going to be a fake data which you can delete later manually as an admin, right, of the organization. So that is that. uh you now push it inside it, then you read it to write it, you write it rather inside that database. So we have explained all this before, so you can look at it again. This is where the ID is being generated from. And I don't want you to be confused. I don't want you to be confused. Look at this item.js. This is where everything is happening from. This item.js, you can see this summarizes the whole thing. This line 14 for posting. Whenever there is an item route, whenever it says slash item, This is all that happens. What you will just do is to go into each of this one and start writing the code. Do you understand? So you just go there. See, I think the best way to understand it is this line 14. Just study this line 14. This is the summary of everything that is happening. That okay, when somebody go to slash item to carry out posting, first of all, check the API key if the API key is correct. If the API key is not correct, if the API key is correct, next. You can see that's why every middleware we end with next. Then the next thing is that check the admin. If the person is an admin, if the person is not the admin, the posting, everything will stop here. It should not even come to this place.
But sorry for imagining. For that check admin, there will be nest as well. For
There will
that
be
check
next now.
for that check item, there will be nest as well.
There will be next. All of them
Okay.
will have next. I
So only
showed
the
you now.
controller will be the one without the nest, because that's where everything
Yeah,
will be finalized.
yeah, that is the oh yeah, that is the end of everything.
Okay.
That is it. So that is where everything will be finalized. You don't have next here. So this one we have done it before. So our instructor is now saying, I want you to add all these ones to check as an authentication. This is authentication here. Check API key. Then this is authorization here. That's the new assignment now. We are adding this now. We know this already before. We have done this already before. That we are just getting, posting, deleting anyhow without checking anything. So we are now adding authentication and authorization before this controller function can be possible. We are checking all this. That's what we are adding new now. But me, I have also added check item to my own. I want to check the item that you even want to post. So let me explain that now. Let me check the item. Where is it? Global middleware. Look at it. Look at the check item now. See, I am checking. I am saying, Mr. Modi, this was what you are asking. You can see next
Yes, I
at
can
line
see.
38 for check
Yes,
admin.
yes.
There must be next. That is, if this thing is successful, we'll go to the next thing. And the next thing is to check the what? To check the item, right? To check the item. You can see the way we arrange it now is what we are writing out
I
here.
think this nest is just a function that is opening this. It's just a, let me say, a parameter that is opening the function to go to the next thing.
To go to the next thing. God bless you. That
Okay,
is it.
okay,
It's going
okay,
to the next thing. If
okay.
you don't put next, everything will stop and you will
Stop.
not have any response. You will not have any
Okay.
response at the end of the day.
It will be like
So
a
the
global
next,
scope,
yes, yes. So
a
the next is
local
very
scope.
important to
Okay.
take you to the next thing. Now we are here at the next thing. We want to check item. You can see the way I arrange it. So it follows each other. Now, after check item, what is check item? Okay, I define an item. I put pig and beer there in my own code. Your own can be another thing. Are you getting me? I put pig and beer. I want to check because I don't want pig and beer to be posted in my database, right? So I now say, okay, if items dot includes request dot body dot name, look at it. Remember that our item always have a name. Look at it. I'm going to open it again. Look at my item. You can see there is a name there, which is laptop, right? I am not saying, it is in the body. It's in the body of the request. So if I want to grab this name now, I will say
Okay.
request.body, then dot name.
Okay.
So that is exactly what I am doing here. That okay, this array of item, if it include, imagine when I wanted to do the posting and I put beer, you know what this request.body.name is going to grab is beer. Am I communicating? Hello? If
So
here,
it's going
if
to
I put
it's going to check the array and check the name. If the name
okay,
is
let me do it here now. I want to put beer now instead of laptop. I want to
okay.
put beer. Can
Is
you
this
see?
small letter? Is this small letter or capital letter you use in the code base?
It should even change it. Let's make a capital letter now. We are going to check small letter now. I think it is not case sensitive. I don't think it
Okay.
is case sensitive. When it
Okay.
is case sensitive, it will check the capital letter and small letter. But it is not case sensitive, then you should take it will not check that. But
Okay.
even if it is case sensitive, we can rewrite the code. Do
Code,
you
yes.
understand? By using
Yeah.
to uppercase to lowercase
So yes, yes, yes.
before checking. You understand?
Okay. Yes.
So we will check that. Don't worry, we check that. Now, if it is beer now, it is not going to post. Despite the fact that your API is correct, your API key is correct, and your what? And you are also an admin, right?
You're authorized.
You are authorized, you are authenticated, and you are authorized.
Authorized. Yes.
You are authenticated because your API key is correct,
Okay.
Abi.
You're
Then you are
authorized because
authorized
you
because you
are
are
an
an
admin.
admin.
Okay.
Even with that, it will not post to because you want to post what we don't want in our organization, which is beer,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Now let's say beer is let's say it's 500 naira and the size is also small. You see, I'm going to try to post this now, and it is still the same. Go and check your this thing, your API key now. You can see it is still
It's
same
still the same
Munirudin.
thing.
He's an admin. Oh, let's
Okay.
post it now. Let's see. Send. Look at it. This
Okay.
item is unacceptable. We don't accept pig and beer.
There. Okay.
Can you see now? It
Okay.
works fine because that is what I stated here. You can see the statement here. This item is unacceptable. We don't accept pig and beer because I am checking that request.body.name is going to grab that beer
There.
and check if it is included in the forbidden item.
Okay.
So because beer is part of the forbidden item, then there should be this response.
Sorry, I want to ask a question. Like,
Yeah.
we have some website that there are some words you can't use in the website. Can we use this kind of scenario for such
Yeah. Of course, of course.
so that we have
Because
like they have like some F words like that, some abusive words. So they have
abusive word.
those kind of words like that, so that when you
Exactly.
post it, it's going to say
Yes.
no, these words it cannot be posted.
My brother, this is just the code, though. It's as simple
Okay.
as that, too. Because all those words, they have stored it inside an array like this.
Okay. Okay.
Are you getting me? And they
So
were
what
written this code
anytime
that
you just anytime you just put the word, is going to
uh, yes, it will
okay.
just bring out this message that is here. That, like now, that abusive word, that's going to be the statement here. You say such abusive word is not
It's
allowed.
not
That's
allowed.
what they will
Yes.
write here.
Yes. Yes.
And it will bring it out. Are you getting me? Your own job is to write this code. You see, the front end engineer, they will consume all this and give it a UI.
Okay.
Are you getting me? They will give it a UI, an interface that the user will relate with. Your own is just to write the back end. The
Okay.
front end engineer knows how to consume all this and make it, a lovely interface for the users.
Okay.
So many of us have been asking, hey, what are we building? What you are building already now? I mean, see all this application, all these examples you have been citing so far. We are
No,
building.
unlike it's unlike when you are doing front end. I understand the question. You are building the
Uh,
website, you are clicking a button, you are doing, you understand all this.
there's
It's
nothing
like,
concerning you with clicking a button. You are a back-end engineer.
basically me too. I'm familiar with front end, so I was just
Uh,
wondering what have you been doing since all these years?
doing,
This thing.
my brother, you are doing a lot. Oh. Just understand this thing that we are saying. You have done a lot already. Once
Wow.
all these things we are discussing, once you know it, you have done a lot. The only thing that is left now, I'm using a public folder here as a database. Can you see?
Okay.
Item.json, user.json, they are public folder that I'm using as database, right?
Okay.
The one Adesoji used, don't use that.
SQL.
Are you getting me? Because that does not even make sense to me. Because in that one now, if you restart your server now, everything will not have access to everything in the database. So
Please,
I'm using this
can
one.
you come again, please? Your network was breaking.
Okay, are you with me? I
Yes, you're
said
with me now.
I said I am using a public folder here as
Okay.
my JSON is a file. I'm
Okay.
using it as my database, right?
Okay. Okay.
The one Daniel did in the class, if you go and check the code
Okay.
that he puts in his GitHub for us to clone and study, is not this kind of database that is there. He uses in-memory database. He defined a database here. Like now, look, if you go and check very well, look at here now. I am saying I am grabbing the database here, right? I am grabbing it here. This one, I am grabbing it in line 4 and
Yes.
5. But in his own, you don't need to go and grab anything. The
Okay.
database is
Just put
here
the
inside.
link.
No. Look at it. This is what he did in his own work. The database is inside there. Like if you user database, then you will now see something like. Let me write it as a comment. You will see something like
Cons.
const
Okay. So he's
user
declaring his own use database inside.
inside it. Yes, exactly. You will see
Okay.
some
Okay.
const user database to
Base
be
is equal
equals to
to, then you
an
create an
empty
object.
array. Empty array.
Okay.
It's going to be an empty array. Remember, our own twin is an array. Look at
Array,
it now.
yes. Array of
You can
objects.
see it's an array. It's an array of objects. See the square
Yes.
bracket here.
Yes. Yes.
It's an
Yes.
array. Do you understand? So that is
Yes.
what he is doing, right?
But
So you
where is
can
he declaring this variable? Is he going to declare inside the same array, or he pushed the?
yes, you can have it here inside the controller. Are you with me?
Okay.
Or you
Okay.
have it in a separate file. You can have
Okay.
it in a
So
separate
that
file.
means in his own case now, anywhere he wants to use it, he will have to export and import.
Hey, God bless you. You will
Oh,
export and import. So
okay.
in his own case now, he declared it in a separate file.
Fine.
In case you
Okay.
see that, don't be confused. He declared
Okay.
it in a separate file, then export it, right?
Okay.
After
Okay.
exporting it, here now, he will now import it.
It.
Then
Okay.
after
Okay.
importing it, he will now be pushing. All this pushing will not be
Pushing.
possible. All the
Okay.
pushing that we are doing, we just be pushing inside it.
Inside
But
it. Okay.
the disadvantage is that once you close your server,
Yes.
everything will wipe up. You will not see anything in the database again.
Ah.
And now, shebi you don't close am,
Yeah,
everything
an
don't
empty
end now.
Okay.
It will be empty. You will not see
Okay.
anything
Okay.
inside again.
Okay.
You have
Okay.
to start all over
Start
again.
over
Like me
again.
now, when I open my own work now, you are seeing everything. Everything
Yes.
that is there, oh and there is there.
Okay.
I
Okay.
only added, maybe I just added Emanuela and Monirudin now, Abi.
Okay.
In his own case now, you will not see all this Sulaiman Lawal and you will not see it there again. It will start all
Okay.
over. Do you understand? So that is now this one now that I've just written is just a good example of how a normal database is going to look like. But this one has limitation. This is not the normal database. Now, the real database now is what we are going to study. He has started in the last class. And I want us to please pay attention. Iremide she's a data analyst and she understands the way database works very well. So we are going to get across her
Definitely, we'll be having her to come and put us through.
when we enter into database proper. You understand?
Yes.
Because we need to understand database very well. Very, very important. So that is that. So now, where are we? I think this is all the middleware. And I only want to, okay, I think I've tested it. So that's all. That's all. I think we are done. We are done.
Okay. So can
We
we
are done.
just test posting for users? Let's see.
Posting for users. Now let's go to our database and pick a user. Where's our database?
You can use Emanuela.
Let's pick a user. Let's pick Emanuela. Let's copy the API key here. Control copy.
Let me just explain my own kind of predicament. This thing is the LMS. I'm not really. The thing is,
Before
hello.
are we there?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Item. Let's go. What is it posting? Let's go to the body. Let's assume she wants to post something that is allowed. Yes. Somebody should give me an item.
Your network is breaking.
Power
Hello?
bank.
I
Power
cannot
bank.
hear you.
Power bank. Okay, power bank is what she wants to post, right? Power bank, then the price is, let's say the price is 1,000, or let's say the price is 2,000, and the size is medium. Let's just change the value. Size is medium. So she wants to post that. So now, will she be successful? No, because she's not going to be authorized. She's not an admin. Our API key is correct. look at her API key, it is correct. But because she's not an admin, when she was trying to sign up, we have written our code not to make her an admin. So she's not an admin. So the posting is not going to be possible. Let's see, run it, send. Look at it. You are
Okay.
not authorized.
All right.
Can you
Okay.
see?
Yes.
You can see it's different from you are not authenticated. Authenticated means our API key is not correct, but our API key is correct. Now let's make our API key not correct now, because that's the first thing that should be checked. Authentication will be checked before authorization. Are we there? Let's make the API key not correct. Let's remove A from the Emanuela now. I've just removed A, and let's do the posting again. You will see it is you are not authenticated that will come now. Let's see. Send. Can you see now? You are not authenticated because the API key is not correct. It's going to be you are not authenticated. But if the API key is correct, right? Yes, the API key is correct, but because she's not an admin, it will say you are not authorized. You can see you are not authorized because users are not allowed to what? To make a post. The same thing with get. For get, she can get, right? She can get, but she cannot post. If we try her to get now, let's change it to get now. Get. So let's say she wants to get all the items, right? She wants to get all the items. Let us send now. Our API key is correct. She only want to get. Let's send. She will get now. Can you see now? She's able to get, but she cannot post. This is all what we have in the database. She has been able to get everything, all the 8 items. You can see. Then even if she wants to get one item, maybe she wants to get item at number 5. Remember, to get item at number 5, you will now say /5. Are we there? Remember, the way we structure our code is to have a part parameter of an ID that we has a value of the
So that means
item.
we are using ID to get one item.
Yes, now we have done that before in the last
Yes, yes,
assignment.
yes. That was the first
Yes,
assignment.
that was the previous assignment. Yes, before this last one. We are going to say /item/ID. So we want to get this one at line 5. You will see that it is only orange price, this one that will come now. Let's try to send get. Can you see? Can you see it is only the item at ID 5 that is gotten now, right? So that is the way we have written the
But
code. Every
this code can be tweaked such that if you want to get just item with size small.
of course, of course,
Okay.
of course, it's possible.
So
So
that means
that
we'll be
means
using
that means
ID
we are going to use another parameter here, which is
meter.
going to be
Yes.
size instead of ID.
ID.
They will now
Yes.
give it a value of small.
Small. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Exactly. In the
Yes.
code, we are going to
Okay.
give it a value of
So
small.
even with price, if you have 500 naira, if you want to buy anything that is
Exactly.
500
It
naira,
will
it's going
show
to bring.
everything. Can you see
Okay.
now? The basic knowledge has been given to us. You can now do a lot of business logic. This is what we call business logic. You see, what you are just telling me now, Mr. Muridin, is a
Yes.
logic.
Yes. Yes.
So your organization, you can do so many things for your organization. Since once you understand the basis, you just be changing it. You'll be changing it, you'll be doing so many things, right? So that is it. May God make it easy for us. So
Yeah.
question, I think we have come
Yeah,
to
I
the end
said
of
some of us are really lagging behind as regards to that LMS. We are still studying one like this. Another video is out. We are still battling with one like this. Another one is out. So the thing is, it's getting
okay.
overwhelming, sincerely, sincerely.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm getting once we are in class, I get all the logics. But I'll have to go back again and watch previous video just to follow the serial. You understand? Posted
yeah,
videos, so that I won't be just
exactly.
be jumping from one video to another. So it has
Yeah.
not been easy, sincerely speaking. It has not been easy.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. It depends. Everything individual, all of us, we have different things at our disposals. So some of us are busy with some other things, maybe work and some
Yeah.
other functions. The time is not really there for us. I can understand. And you just need to really sit down and draw your timetable very well and see how you can figure things out. You understand? Because we have entered into this already. We can't go back. You understand,
Definitely.
Mr. Moderidin? We can't, there's no going back.
There's no going back. Giving up is not
Eh,
an option.
eh. We can't just give up. So the only option we have is to see how we can figure things out. So you need to give yourself that courage. You understand? There is nothing that is not possible. If it has to do with having midnight reading, it is just for a space of 1 year. Everything will be over. Then you begin to rest and relax.
Are you
You
sure
know,
there is
do
rest?
things.
Are you sure there is rest? Because I have people that are even working that they are
Mm,
still learning. No, learning never ends when it comes to tech. You understand?
yes, you are very correct. But at the level of building a project, are you with me?
Yeah.
You will
Yes.
rest
Yes.
if you
Yes.
have understood it very well.
Mm.
You will rest because what is expected of you to execute in maybe like 2 weeks, like for example, in your organization, you are asked to write a particular logic, right? But because you have actually devoted your time, you were consistent at the time you were learning, what ordinarily should take you like a month to figure out, you figure it out within a week. Are you there?
Okay. Yes.
If
Yes.
you are able to do that, the remaining 3 weeks will be relaxation for you, but you will pretend in your working space as if that is what you are working on,
Okay.
and you will rest. That is what I mean by rest now.
Yes, I
So, but if you
understand.
don't take if you don't take that pain to be the best, get the best out of yourself now. If you don't take that pain, then there won't be rest for you forever, because it will always be like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? Even when you start working, you will not be that perfect engineer that will do things very fast.
Another thing is
So,
that is it advisable to just use some other resources like an Udemy course to just because the thing is there are some aspects Rising was explaining in the video, but it
mm,
needs more explanation. You understand?
mm, mm,
So is it
mm,
is it
mm.
good to just use Udemy to some Udemy
Mm.
because I have some Udemy note courses. I've not even watched any of
Yes,
them because
yes.
the thing are just
Uh,
cumbersome.
You know what? You know what?
Mm.
I will not advise that. I will not
Okay.
advise that. The reason is that you see all these things we are writing, there
Yes.
are different implementations for them.
Okay.
Do you understand? There are different implementations. As I told you now, look at the difference in the implementations Adesoji used and the implementation I use.
Use.
I told you he was using in memory, but me, I use a public file, right?
Okay.
Now you can be getting more accessing that resources, accessing another resources, you even get more
Okay.
confused if you are not careful.
Confused.
You
Okay.
understand? So I will not advise that stick to one implementation and understand it. That is
Okay.
why I love my plan is that when I'm running the back end, I can always get a course to start learning front end, and be very good at front end, while all school will take care of back end for me. I will take one extra course, maybe Udemy course whatsoever
Yes.
for front end. That was my
Yes.
plan though. But I discovered that the time is not there for me.
It's not there. In fact, I have front and back
Hello,
end.
the time is not there. If you want to do that by force, do you know what will happen?
Yes.
You will not be a specialist in any one of
In
them.
one exactly. Exactly.
You will not. So you need to pay attention to one. The same way you need to pay attention to a particular implementation, stick to what is on the LMS and what is in the class. Try to understand it. Even the LMS and the class alone, they are different implementation.
Station,
Not
exactly. Exactly.
so
Not to
not to
talk of
talk of as
adding
add
another.
another resources, you will be getting more confused.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that is my advice. That is my
Emanuela,
advice.
Emanuela, full stack, Agba. She said she wants to drop her front end. But
Okay.
it's just good to have basic knowledge because
Basic
I have some of
knowledge.
my friends
Exactly.
that are senior engineers in some of these companies.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they have some are back end, some are, I have some
Yes.
in
I
that is doing
I
C sharp, C plus plus and other.
yes,
So
yes,
they
yes,
still have front end knowledge. Basically, when they
yes.
do meeting, they'll be able
Mm.
to implement their own ideas to front end
Ideas.
guys too. You
Okay.
understand? So it's not
Okay.
that we can just leave the front end that okay, since we are in back end, but it's just good to have basic ideas so that when you are doing meeting, you'll be able to have idea of what to implement. You understand? So
I want to stop the recording. So
okay. So we just have normal conversation.
mm, mm.